Doctors had given up on Lily, a 10-year-old girl paralyzed from the waist down after a devastating car accident in rural Kansas. Her mother, Kate, a nurse in Wichita, had knocked on every hospital door seeking hope. But specialists shook their heads. One rainy afternoon, while passing through a quiet farming town, Kate's car broke down near a weathered farmhouse. A tall, rugged man with calloused hands, mud-streaked boots, and soft eyes approached. His name was Eli, 42, a widowed farmer known locally for helping animals heal with homemade treatments. Seeing Lily in the back seat, his face softened. "Mind if I try something?" he asked. Kate hesitated, but something in his eyes made her nod. That night, Eli built a support frame from barnwood and old tractor parts. He said, "She won't walk overnight, but we'll plant the seed and let the miracle grow." By morning, Eli had converted part of his barn into a therapy space, padded with hay and old blankets. Lily stared at the contraption with suspicion, but Eli knelt beside her and said, "We'll do it together." Kate watched, unsure whether to stop him or pray harder. Eli wrapped Lily's legs with soft fabric braces and carefully slid her into the frame. "We'll just swing," he said, moving her gently. As her body swayed forward and back, her arms extended, grasping the wooden bars. Her face lit up, just a flicker, but it was the first spark of joy in months. Kate returned to Wichita that night, but only to pack. Something in Eli's presence, in the way he looked at Lily, filled her with reluctant hope. They moved into a small guest room inside his home, which once belonged to Eli's late wife. The house smelled of cinnamon, dust, and memories. Each morning, Eli worked the farm, then spent the afternoons with Lily. He introduced her to his horses, letting her brush their coats. "Healing starts with the heart," he'd say, watching her giggle when a foal licked her fingers. Kate stayed close, documenting every smile, every motion. Over the next 2 weeks, Eli's routine became a rhythm of purpose. He crafted wooden rollers, stretched tarps across frames for resistance, and trained Lily's upper body with chores disguised as games. She lifted small pails of water to feed the chickens, used a pulley system to raise her teddy bear up the barn wall. Eli tracked every movement like a scientist, adjusting her braces and adding new tools. Lily's hands grew stronger. One evening, she pushed herself upright in bed using her arms. Kate gasped, clutching her chest, tears filling her eyes. "She's getting stronger," Eli whispered. One evening, Lily stared out at the cornfields and said, "Do you think I'll ever run again?" Eli crouched beside her, lifting her chin. "I don't know," he answered. "Honestly, but I believe in walking first." That night he stayed up late, modifying her support frame into something that allowed more leg movement. In the morning, Lily stood inside it, gripping the bars tightly. With Eli's hands at her sides, she moved 1 foot forward. It didn't lift, but it slid. And then again. Kate sobbed silently, covering her mouth. "You just walked," Eli said, voice cracking. "You really did." Word spread in the town about the paralyzed girl at Eli's farm. Neighbors dropped by, bringing meals, old physical therapy books, and encouragement. One brought an old walker from his mother's attic. Another offered a soft pony for Lily to pet daily. The town, once indifferent to outsiders, rallied around her. At Sunday service, the pastor asked for prayers for little Lily, whose steps are being built in a barn. Kate had never believed in miracles, but each gesture chipped away at her doubt, and Lily, once silent, began to hum again. Her joy echoed through the farmhouse halls. Eli brought in an old radio and played 1950s swing music during Lily's exercises. "Movement needs rhythm," he said with a wink. Lily laughed as she shuffled to the beat, gripping the bars tightly. "I feel like a dancer," she giggled. Kate watched from the doorway, her arms folded over her heart. The once stern nurse had softened too. Her face held color again, and her laughter returned. At night, she and Eli talked under the stars. He shared memories of his wife, and she opened up about Lily's father, who left after the accident. Healing, it seemed, came in many forms. Eli noticed Lily's toes twitching more often. He didn't want to raise hopes too quickly, but he began designing a set of boots, lined with tiny pressure sensors to trigger movement. He soldered wires late at night, sipping coffee and glancing at Lily's drawings on the fridge. Each sketch was more confident, stick figures with big smiles and legs in motion. When he finally strapped the boots onto Lily's feet, he whispered, "Let's see what your nerves." Remember, with the braces supporting her and Kate holding her waist, Lily stepped forward. The sensor activated, her knee bent slightly. She gasped. The next day, Eli set up a small wooden pathway in the barn, just 6 feet long, with rope rails. He called it Lily's runway. She practiced every day, each movement exaggerated and slow. But her body began responding. Her calves, once limp, tightened when she stood. Her spine stayed straighter. One day, without warning, she lifted her right foot a full inch off the ground and stepped. Eli dropped. The wrench he was holding. Kate screamed with joy. Lily froze, startled. "Was that real?" she asked. Eli walked over and hugged her. "Real enough to change everything," he said, his voice trembling. At night, the three of them sat around Eli's fireplace. Lily now joined in conversations, her voice light and curious. She asked questions about stars, farms, animals. Eli taught her how to whistle with grass, and Kate read her poems. "She's turning into a little explorer," Eli said one evening. Kate smiled, resting her head on the back of the couch. She hadn't felt peace like this in years. Lily slept between them sometimes, arms stretched wide like wings. Eli often caught himself watching her, this little girl who came from brokenness and was growing stronger in the most unlikely place. A local newspaper sent a young reporter to the farm after hearing the story. She watched Lily walk 2 shaky steps in the barn and immediately wiped her eyes. The next morning, the front page read, "Paralyzed girl takes steps on Kansas farm. Hope grows from hay and heart." The article went viral. Messages poured in from all over the country. Doctors reached out. Volunteers offered help. Some even mailed equipment. One family donated a used standing frame with motor assistance. Kate was overwhelmed, but Eli remained steady. "It's about her, not the attention," he said. "We stay the course." The media buzz faded slightly, but Lily kept improving. Eli introduced a balance beam and trained her to stand with only one hand gripping a rail. Her falls were frequent but never discouraged her. "Falling means I tried," she once said. Eli looked at her, eyes glassy. "Yes," he said, "and trying means you're living." Kate often videotaped her daughter now, not to show the world, but to remind herself how far they'd come. In one clip, Lily stood alone for 4 full seconds before collapsing into Eli's arms. "We're almost there," he said. "We're closer than we think." By late September, Eli started planning something bigger, a step celebration. He invited neighbors, doctors, the pastor, even the mayor. He built a small platform on his lawn, decorated with sunflowers and old boots filled with wildflowers. "One step at a time," the banner read. Lily practiced for weeks. On the big day, dozens gathered. Some cried before it began. Eli adjusted her braces, kissed her forehead gently, and said, "You're ready." As the music played, Lily took her first 3 unaided steps across the platform. The crowd erupted. Kate dropped to her knees. Eli's hand shook as he applauded. After the celebration, Kate held Eli's hand in both of hers. "You gave her more than movement," she said, choking up. "You gave her a future." Eli shook his head. "She did that herself. I just gave her the space to believe." That night, Lily asked to sleep in the barn under the stars. They laid out blankets, and Eli told stories of his wife, his old dog, and the nights he thought the world had forgotten him. Lily reached over and held his hand. "You weren't forgotten. You were waiting for us." The wind whispered through the cornfields. Each morning now began with hope. Lily brushed her teeth standing up. She fed chickens and cleaned stalls, slowly but surely. Kate sent a letter to every hospital that had turned them away. She wrote, "You should have met the farmer." One day, as they sat on the porch sipping lemonade, Lily asked, "Can we help other kids too?" Eli and Kate looked at each other. "Yes," Eli said slowly, "I think we can." That fall, they converted the barn into a makeshift rehab center, and what started as one girl's miracle was now growing into something far bigger than they'd imagined. Eli adjusted the straps of the barn harness carefully, making sure Lily felt safe before each practice. "One step at a time, kiddo," he'd say, voice calm and steady. The first few tries, she barely lifted her feet. But each session brought a tiny victory her knees bending more, her arms growing stronger from holding herself upright. Kate watched from a wooden bench, tears often forming when Lily grimaced through pain, yet pushed on. Eli never charged a dime, refusing anything but smiles and determination. His evenings, once filled with silence, were now alive with Lily's laughter and the creak of barn pulleys. The town slowly took notice. At first, a few neighbors stopped by just to watch. Then they began pitching in, repairing the barn roof, bringing warm meals, or helping with Eli's chores so he could focus on Lily. An old retired teacher volunteered to tutor her after sessions. Another woman offered yoga mats for balance training. Even kids from the local school wrote cards cheering Lily on. The once quiet farmer's land became a sanctuary of hope, and through it all, Eli never took credit. He'd tip his hat and say, just lending a hand like anyone would. One day, Lily moved her legs so suddenly that Eli dropped the harness rope in shock. "Do it again," he whispered. With fierce concentration, she twitched her toes. Kate gasped. It was the first sign of motor function returning. They celebrated with lemonade and peach pie under the Kansas sky. From that moment, progress accelerated. Eli added gentle resistance bands, repurposed irrigation pipes for parallel bars, and even turned old milk crates into adjustable balance steps. Lily worked hard, sweating and sometimes crying, but never quitting. And Eli was always there, steady, encouraging, believing when no one else ever had. When the local journalist arrived, she expected a story about a lonely farmer and a sick child. What she found was a community transformed. She snapped pictures of Lily walking the length of the barn with Eli beside her, both smiling. Despite mud-stained clothes and sunburned faces, the article hit the front page of the state newspaper. "The Miracle in Mud Boots," the headline read. It spread across the Midwest. Soon, news vans rolled into town. Donations began arriving, checks, letters, therapy gear, and notes from families who'd nearly given up. Eli never sought fame, but he welcomed every chance to help others. With the donations, Eli expanded the barn into a full-fledged therapy center, naming it Hope Acres. He built special platforms for kids with varying mobility, added a sensory garden, and brought in therapy animals from nearby farms. Parents came from as far as Nebraska and Oklahoma, desperate for what Eli had given Lily: belief. He never promised miracles, only hard work, kindness, and the faith that nature heals slowly but surely. He hired 2 physical therapists using the funds, but continued working in the fields during the day and volunteering at the barn each evening. His life was changed forever. Kate, who had once wept silently at hospital rejections, was offered a position at a renowned rehab facility in Kansas City. They had read about her tireless advocacy for Lily and her medical background, but Kate chose to stay. She said, "This farm saved us. I want to give that to others." Instead of leaving, she co-managed Hope Acres with Eli, organizing schedules, volunteers, and treatment plans. Her nights were often spent writing thank you letters to donors or helping Lily with her homework. Every time she looked at her, Daughter walking stronger, taller, and more confident, her heart swelled with gratitude. Lily's progress astonished medical professionals. Her recovery wasn't just physical, it was emotional and spiritual. She no longer dreaded mornings, but greeted them with purpose. Her bond with Eli deepened. He taught her how to plant tomatoes, how to tell if rain was coming by the smell of the wind, and how to whistle, using just grass blades. They had long talks under the stars. "You're not just healing my legs," Lily once told him. "You're healing my heart." Eli's eyes misted. For years, after losing his wife and unborn son, he thought his heart was beyond repair. Lily proved otherwise. Spring arrived with golden wheat dancing across fields and wildflowers blooming beside the therapy barn. On a clear April morning, Eli adjusted Lily's walking harness one last time. But this time, she gently pushed his hand away. "I got this," she whispered. With Kate standing nearby and a group of watching families, Lily took slow, unassisted steps across the grass. No harness, no bars, just courage. Her small feet pressed into the soil, leaving imprints of resilience behind. Cheers broke out. Kate cried openly, holding her chest. Eli simply knelt in the grass, hands covering his mouth, overwhelmed with silent joy. That moment became the centerpiece of a national documentary called Roots of Hope, which aired on public television and later streamed worldwide. Offers poured in from charities, universities, and media outlets, but Eli remained grounded. He gave most of the profits back into Hope Acres. A portion went into building a second barn for adult patients. He refused a book deal, but agreed to speak at one rural medical conference where he said, "You don't need a medical degree to offer hope. You just need love, patience, and a few rusty tools." His words received a standing ovation. Lily's journey continued. By summer's end, she no longer needed a walker, she ran. Yes, ran through Eli's rows of sunflowers. Each step was imperfect, but it was hers. She joined a local soccer league, the same one she had watched from her wheelchair just a year earlier. At school, she gave a speech titled, "My Roots Are Strong," sharing how healing can grow in the most unexpected places. Her classmates gave her a standing ovation. The town named a nearby walking trail in her honor, Lily's. With that, Eli helped lay each stone, making sure every step was level and safe. News crews returned for updates, but Eli rarely gave interviews. He let the kids speak instead. One boy said, "Mr. Eli made me believe I could be strong again." A teenage girl recovering from surgery added, "He listens when no one else does." Lily, now more confident than ever, helped train the younger kids at Hope Acres. She gently corrected their posture, encouraged them through wobbles, and always told them, "You're stronger than you think." Watching her lead warmed Eli's heart. She wasn't just healed, she had become a healer herself. That, to him, was the real miracle. The barn buzzed with life every evening. Kids played, families laughed, and goats occasionally caused mischief by nibbling unattended shoes. Kate started organizing weekend retreats for families with disabled children. Local musicians offered to play at barn fundraisers. High school students painted murals of sunrises and fields of wheat along the barn walls. The farm became more than a place of healing. It became a movement. People drove in not just to seek therapy, but to witness what love, persistence, and belief could build. Eli stood in the background most days, quietly repairing wheelchairs or oiling harness pulleys, smiling at it all. That autumn, a letter arrived. It was from a child's mother in Colorado. She wrote, "My daughter said she wants to walk like Lily. We're packing and driving out tonight." More came from Arizona, Missouri, even Canada. Eli looked at Kate and said, "We'll need more barns." They both laughed, but plans were made. Volunteers offered to help expand Hope Acres again. Crowdfunding campaign raised more than they imagined. Eli remained modest. "If the soil's good and the hearts are willing," he said, "we can grow anything." His quiet wisdom rooted deeper into the community than any tractor ever could. One evening, under a sky ablaze with stars, Lily walked barefoot through Eli's garden. Her hair shimmered in the moonlight as she gently touched each tomato plant and whispered, "I did it." Eli sat nearby, boots dusty, hands folded. "Yes, you did," he replied softly. The wind carried her words across the wheat fields like a prayer. Returned to heaven, Eli, once just a grieving farmer, had become a symbol of unshakable faith. And Lily, once deemed hopeless, had bloomed into strength. In that quiet town of soil and miracles, belief had taken root, and love made it grow.